Instead of creating just like educational story, I think it makes sense to tell you guys fictional, interesting story, but also with some educational context. All right, this in general story would be related for like cybersecurity, social engineering terms. I hope this you're gonna like this story. The Whisper Network. The night city breathed softly. Streetlights flickered like tired eyes, and somewhere above a camera lens rotated with a quiet click. No one noticed it. No one ever did. But Leo Vega did. He wasn't just watching the city, he was listening to it. Leo is 26 years old, ex-military signals analyst, now digital nomad, had a strange gift. He could sense patterns, not in numbers, but in people. And tonight, something in the air felt like the beginning of a storm. Across the river, a glowing co-working building stood like a beacon, a perfect place for ambitious people and predators who didn't need claws, only whispers. Inside that building, a woman named Aria Lynn was pitching her startup to a group of investors. She didn't know what that 2 floors below Leo had already received a tip. Someone had been running a pretexting operation there for weeks. So, what is pretexting? Pretexting, a method of social engineering where an attacker creates a fake scenario like a legend to manipulate someone into revealing sensitive information. Again, pretexting is like a fake story to get like a victim's trust, in other words. Leo didn't need a gun, just a hoodie, a coffee cup, and the ability to blend in like background noise. He slid through the revolving doors, nodding casually to the security guard. "Forgot my badge again," he whispered, smiling. The guard sighed, waved him through. Leo didn't even have to lie convincingly. He just pretended to create if like a real employee would act like that, which I guess it's happening. That was the beauty of authority exploitation. People rarely question what looks familiar. Authority exploitation is manipulating people's tendency to obey perceived authority figures or familiar patterns. Arya stepped out of the elevator with her sleek tablet, heart still racing from her pitch. She didn't notice the man in a janitor's uniform holding the door. That wasn't his real job. His name was Victor Cray, and he wasn't cleaning anything. Victor specialized in tailgating, slipping into secure areas behind authorized personnel without using credentials. What is tailgating? A social engineering tactic where someone gains access to a restricted area by following someone who is authorized. So, in other words, you're just following the right person in order to get access to whatever you want. Leo spotted Victor immediately. It wasn't the uniform, it was the shoes. No janitor in the world wore handmade Italian leather. He followed silently, blending with the crowd of coders and caffeine junkies. He watched Victor's hand brush against the ID badge of an engineer standing by the coffee machine. A subtle move, a smile, a quick photograph on a hidden pinhole camera in his belt buckle. Victor had just performed shoulders surfing and credential harvesting in one breath. So, what is shoulder surfing? observing someone's private information, like passwords or pins, by looking over their shoulders. So literally, you're just on their back watching what they're doing. And what is credential harvesting? Credential harvesting, it is stealing login credentials using various social or technical methods. Upstairs, Area received a text from IT support. Urgent, your account has been compromised. Click here to reset your password. She hesitated for half a second. It had the company logo, the correct formatting, even her first name. She clicked. Victor smiled in the corner of the room. Invisible to her, this was his masterpiece, phishing. And what is phishing? Phishing is tricking someone into revealing personal information or credentials by pretending to be a trustworthy source. Leo moved faster now. He had to reach her before Victor fully compromised the system. The sound of his sneakers on the polished floor was drowned out by the endless typing of the night shift developers. He spotted Aria in a glass meeting room, her face pale as she typed in her credentials. Leo threw open the door. Stop, don't press enter. Her fingers froze midair. Who are you? I'm the guy who listens, Leo said quietly. And he pointed to Victor's silhouette near the vending machine, is the guy who steals. Victor didn't panic. That was what made him dangerous. He stepped out of the shadows with a calm grin. "You're good," Victor said softly, "but I'm better." He pulled out a laminated card. It looked exactly like a corporate ID. Leo smiled back. Nice spoofing attempt. So what is spoofing? Spoofing is creating fake identities or communications to trick people into believing they're legitimate. Aria's breathing quickened. What? What does he want? Leo walked closer to Victor step by step like two wolves circling each other. He doesn't need your money. He needs your access. He needs your trust. That's the real currency here. Victor tilted his head and amused, and she gave it so easily. Leo's voice dropped an octave because that's what trust exploitation is. You build familiarity, create a false sense of safety, and then you strike. So, what is trust exploitation? It is manipulating the human tendency to trust familiar or seemingly friendly individuals. A group of late-night employees passed by. None of them noticed the quiet war happening right in front of them. That's the thing about social engineering. It doesn't scream, it whispers. Victor leaned against the wall. You can't prove anything. You don't have access. Leo smirked. I don't need access. I need patterns. He held up his phone. He held up his phone. On the screen, a heat map of Victor's movements over the past hour, reconstructed from public Wi-Fi metadata and open surveillance APIs. Victor's footprinting had left a trail. And what is footprinting? Footprinting, it is collecting as much information as possible about a target, organization, or individual before launching an attack. So basically, it's about like a learning, like how attackers learning victim. They creating like some sort of like a map. Victor chuckled. Smart, but you're still too late. He pointed out the screen on the wall, Aria's entire pitch deck, financials, roadmap, investors, was already sinking to a private server offshore. Leo walked to the whiteboard, grabbed a marker, and drew a single line. People are always the weakest link. Victor's smile faltered. Leo turned to Aria. You trusted the message because it looked real, but real doesn't always mean true. Next time, verify the source. Multi-factor authentication, internal calls, anything but blind trust. And what is multi-factor authentication, or shortly acronym MFA? Security measure requiring multiple methods of verification to prove identity. Victor tried to make a run for it, but Leo had already anticipated that. He'd used elicitation earlier, casually chatting with the janitor during his entrance to extract subtle details about Victor's location. And elicitation is subtly extracting information without the target realizing they're giving anything away. So, simply speaking, elicitation is when someone asking questions, but not like in direct way, but more like in a subtle way. When, for example, they're just saying a random statement about the thing that they want to know, but it's just like a statement. It's not like a question. And victim, when they hearing such thing, they want to fix. And that's the point of doing this elicitation. When attacker getting his answer corrected. Like, for example, instead of asking, how old are you? Attacker could say, you look very for 30 years old. And the victim goes like, I'm not 30, I'm 25 or whatever. Okay, let's back to the story. The elevator doors opened and two security officers stepped out. Victor froze. Game is over, Leo said. Downstairs, as Victor was escorted away, Ariel leaned against the wall, still shaking. I feel stupid, she whispered. Leo handed her a bottle of water. Don't. That's the thing about social engineers. They don't break firewalls. They walk through people. Every single person in this building would have clicked that link. You're not stupid, you're human. He leaned closer, but humans can learn. And that's when Leo gave her what he called the human firewall primer. First of all, verify before you trust, even if it looks official, especially then. Second, slow is safe. Urgency is the favorite tool of attackers because, when you acting in a fast way, most of the time you're emotional and you're not logical. That's why attackers, social engineers, they take advantage of this situation. Third advice, ask, don't assume. Social engineers thrive on silence. 4. Layer your defenses. Multi-factor authentication, internal verification, restricted access. 5. Learn to spot whispers. Loud attacks are rare. The dangerous one are quiet. A few weeks later, Aria's company launched a new internal training program. They called it Operation Whisper. Leo stood in front of the employees, not as a hero, but as a mirror. Your security, he told them, isn't the firewall around your network. It's the conversation you're willing to question. Months later, somewhere in another city, Victor Cray sat in a dim cafe, different name, different uniform. He leaned toward a new target. His voice slow and friendly. Hi, he said. I'm from IT support. We noticed something strange on your account." And just like that, the whisper began again. Social engineering, that is, in general, psychological manipulation of people into performing actions or divulging confidential information. Because in the end, it was never about breaking system. It was about breaking trust. Because technically, it is much easier to break human psychology than these, technical details of computers. So let's wrap it up and, in the end, mention all these terms that we learned in this story. Key terms used in this story: pretexting, creating a fake scenarios to get information; authority exploitation, using perceived authority to manipulate; tailgating, slipping in behind authorized people; shoulder surfing, stealing information by watching over shoulders; credential harvesting, stealing login credentials; phishing, fake messages to get sensitive information; spoofing, impersonating a trusted entity; trusted exploitation, abusing human trust; footprinting, collecting intel before the attack; MFA, or multi-factor authentication, it is extra verification layers; elicitation, extracting information subtly; social engineering, it is manipulating humans, not machines. Because the most dangerous hack, again, is not in your code, it is in your mind. Thank you for listening. Smash the like button, subscribe button, and see you next time.